Hi, everybody. I'm going to move this closer. Okay, so right now we are on. Tighten that up. There we go. We are on. It is section 2.3. This is on page 103. Page 103, or 104, sorry. On it is solving problems. Yeah. Problems involving credit. So it's solving problems involving credit, right? So this is not much new here. But there's a couple terminologies here, so make sure you guys do get these down. First thing we have here is we have a line of credit and we have a Bank of Canada prime rate. Um, a line of credit has a limit of $10,000 and an interest rate of 2%, which is compounded. Sorry, I don't know. I think my recorder just messed up. So just as a really quick summary, I'm not sure how much of it recorded was what was not. Something happened there with my stuff. Line of credit is basically a loan you get from a bank. It's not as bad as a credit card. Bank of Canada prime rate is something that the Bank of Canada sets. This is our suggested interest rate right now based on current like inflationary pressures and a couple of other things and the power of the currency and yada yada. But basically, all the banks, all the loan lending agencies, they follow what the Bank of Canada says, is really what it boils down to. So we're going to start solving an example here, which is solving a credit problem that involves overall cost and number of payments. So make sure you guys get this example down from example one. So write this down, unpause the video, and you are good to go. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna kind of just go over these. So we have two people. They're buying furniture. It's worth $1,075. So they're buying about a grand worth of furniture on credit, and they can only afford paying $75 a month. And they have two options. So which one should they choose? Obviously, whichever one's cheaper, right? So we're finding which one of these options is cheaper. Option one here is a store credit card, and this gives us a $100 rebate, right? So instead of 1,075, it's now 975, right? Take that off the purchase price, and it has that interest rate of 18.7%, which is compounded and it's daily. Option B is a bank credit card, has an interest rate of 15.4% compounded daily, but no interest for the first year. So if we're really looking at this, option A has a higher interest rate. You pay interest immediately, but you get $100 off the principal. Whereas option B is it's a lower interest rate, and you don't pay interest for the first year, but you have that $100 on. So like, is it better to take money off the principal and take a higher rate, or is it better to not pay interest and take a lower rate? All right, that's my cat. And there we go. I'm not sure how loud he was on the microphone. So let's run through this here. I'm gonna use my calculator. All right, clear that out. So we're gonna look at option A. So again, apps, finance, TMV solver. So let's clear all this crap out of here. Zero. Oh crap. There you go. Okay, so number of payments. I'll come to that in a second. I'll leave that at zero. Interest rate. So we're gonna start with option A. So first off, this was an 18.7% interest rate. Now the present value here was negative 975, right? Because remember, I'm taking $100 off. So I only have $975 that I'm borrowing now. I know my payments are going to be 75 bucks. I know my future value. How much do I want this loan? What should this loan be valued at the end of this? $0, right? Um, Payments per year. I'm doing 12. How many times does it compound a year? Well, daily, so 365. So what am I trying to find? I'm trying to find how long this is going to run on for, right? Because if I know I'm paying 75 bucks a month, if I know whichever one's a longer loan, I'm paying the same amount every month. Well, that's obviously the more expensive loan, right? So all I got to do is figure out what N is. How long is this loan, right? So I'm going to solve it. Oh, sorry. Alpha solve. So here we go. So option A. Come on, yeah, junk. Here's option A. So I can see that for option A, it is so 75 bucks a month times 14.65 months. This is where I like having a second calculator, makes my life easier. So again, 75 bucks times 14.65, $1,098.75. So $1,098.75. That's not that bad, right? That's a year and a quarter loan. That's a 15-month loan. They're only paying like 20 bucks in interest. That's not that bad in real. Like obviously, you don't want to take on debt, but that's not that bad. If normally on a credit card, you get a lot more screwed out of that. Anyways, so that's option A. Now option B here. Let's go to this. Oh crap. So same thing. I'm trying to figure out how long it is. Now my interest rate in this one here is 15. Actually, before I can go into that, I have no interest for the first year, but I'm still making payments. So for option B, there's a complexity here. For option B, my present value isn't as important in this instance. So I want you to think, well, it's not accumulating interest for the first year. It's not accumulating interest for the first year. So my present value starts at the $1,075 minus 12 months of payments, right? So I have to figure that out first. So option B is it's a full $1,075, but I'm taking away a year of payments, right? So what is a year of payments? Think about this. Year of payments is, well, it's 12 months and it's times $75 a month, right? 175 subtract what's 12 times 75? 900 bucks. So my actual loan itself is only for $175, right? So my present value is $175. So now I can actually input this stuff in. So 15.4% interest rate. My present value in this case is negative 175 for the reasons we just talked about. My payments are still $75. My future value, I still want to be zero. It's still a 12-year pay period, and it's still 12 payments a year, and it's still $365 compound. 365 times compounded in a year daily. So if I do this, I solve for it, 2.38. So for option B, the answer is 2.38 months, right? So obviously that's going to be much better, right? What was my mistake? What mistake did I just make? It's not only 2.38 months. There's 12 months here still, right? There's still the 12 months. So it's 12 months, 12 months plus 2.38 months. It's 14.38 months, right? So $75 times 14.38 months. Sorry, that's my cat. He needs to be held sometimes. He's needy. Maybe you guys get some like cat ASMR purrs because the microphone's right by his face. So times $75 times 14.38. So $1,078.50. So which one of these is better? Obviously, it's option A, right? Because it's cheaper. You pay the same amount for less. So that means it's cheaper, right? So write that out. Option option B is better because it costs less. Use the bank credit card. Simple as that, right? There's my statement here. And that was all of example one there. So once you guys get that down, we'll keep on moving on here. So we're going to run down here to example 3. You guys can do example 2 just fine with the skills you have. So example 3, on page 109, page 109, this is solving a problem that involves interest amount and rate. So what we have here is, let me copy and paste this, and then I will read it out. Here we go. All right. So we have John's $475 car insurance payment is due. He does not have enough cash to make the payment, so he's considering 2 credit options. Option 1 and option 2. Option 1, borrow the money from a payday loan company, which has a $100 fee if he pays it back in full within 2 months. As a side note, never go to a payday loan company. At that point, do illegal things to get money over that. Payday loan companies are the worst thing on the planet. You will screw yourself. So, like, what happens to this guy if he doesn't pay it back in 2 months? Screwed. So don't do it. So option 1 is a payday loan company, $100 fee if he pays it back in 2 months. Option 2 is get a cash advance on his credit card, which is something you do. You need cash, you can get it off your credit card, but you pay the interest now. Currently has a $0 balance, so it's paid off, and the interest charge for cash advances is 19.99% compounded daily. And it takes effect immediately. He can afford to pay the required $5 minimum payment after the first month and then plans to pay off the balance in full at the end of the second month. So question A, which is a better option for John? And you have to explain why. And then question B is what annual interest rate would equate to the fee charged by the payday loan company? We'll talk about that in a second. That's worded awkwardly, but we'll talk about that one in a second here. So, question A. So, option 1. So, what are we trying to find here? Think about it, read it, pause the video. What are we trying to find? Well, we're trying to find the total investment, right? How much does this cost in the end? Which we can solve that by finding the interest, or so we need to find I or A. We need to find I or A. Let's load up your formula sheet here. It's a compound interest problem. We're finding I or A. So I can use this here. This is an option, right? Right? That's solving for A. It's compound interest. So let's try that. There is that other formula I gave you up above in Unit 1 that's not on your formula sheet, which you should probably put on your formula sheet that was given out to you, which I should probably put on my formula sheet, which I give out to you. But point being, I can use this, right? So A, what's the principal? Right? Substitute in $475. It's 1 plus, what's the interest rate? 19.9999%. Now, it's not here, but you have to divide this by the n, right? And it's not here, but you times this by the t, right? So in this case here, I need to divide this by how many times is it compounded in a day or in a year? 365 times, right? And then that's all to the power of n. 365. In this case, we're doing it by a month, right? So 12. So it should look something like this. John, I made a mistake. This is option 2. This is actually option 2 that we're doing. My brain's kind of turned off here for a second. Come on. Option 1's really simple, right? Option 1 is literally, hey, you paid off. It's just an extra $100. So option one is just 575 bucks. Simple. Option B, however, option two here, which is this cash advance. Now, you might be wondering here, I actually want to expand on this. Why does this 365 divided by 12? Why is this the interest rate? Because it's a month of interest on it. I pay it in advance. It's its own weird separate thing compared to what we normally do. So anyways, point being, if I do this, let me use this calculator. If you want this calculator, I can give this to you, by the way. You can use your phone for it as well. I just like that. I just like traditional calculators better for traditional stuff. So if I do this, this is 1 plus fraction 0.1999 all over 365. Close the bracket, and that's all to the power of 365 divided by 12. I'll show you how to do this if you don't have this on the other calculator too. So I'll show you this equation on the other calculator. So equals. So this is for month one, remember? $482.98. And this is specifically for month one of option B. Right? Because remember, for month one, I just pay the interest is still calculating, but I can only pay the $5 minimum payment. Right? So this is the total of the investment. And now I need to pay the $5 payment. So in total, what am I rolling forward to the start of month two? It's $477.98. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So month two, same thing, right? Take the same formula. A is equal to $477.98 plus 1 plus, actually before that, what's happening in month B? He's paying it off at the end of the second month. So we're calculating the interest here, right? That's what I'm doing. So same thing, exact same formula, right? 0.111999 over 365 to the power of 365 over 12. So what does this look like on the other calculator? 477.98. You could put times, or you could just put the bracket. It'll do it for you. So in this case, I need you to think about this. You're going to have to put a fraction in here, right? So I'm going to make sure that fraction is within by itself. So I'm going to go 477. Actually, no, let's not think ahead here. Let's see what happens if we don't. So 1 plus. So now I'm going to put this fraction 0.1999 divided by 365. Close that fraction. So you see this? I've put that fraction in its own bracket. So it knows that to do this calculation first. Now I close this bracket entirely. And this is all now to the power. Same thing. I got to do another bracket here. 365 divided by 12. Do you see why I like my Sharp emulator instead? It has a fraction button. It's so much easier. Anyways, if I do this, month two, my total investment is worth $486.01. You could put zero. I'm not going to penalize you either way, but technically for rounding up. So, right, so I have a $5 payment, and then I got to pay this off. So what's my total payments? My total payments, $486.01 plus the $5 payment I did. So it's $491.01. So there's option one. There's option two. Which one's the better option here, right? Which one of these is the better option? How much did I pay? 475. Sorry. So actually, how much did I pay in total? I paid $100 for. Actually, I don't even. I can just tell you. We already have the answer, right? Which one of these two is better? Obviously, it's option B, right? So option two, the cash advance, is a far better deal. It costs $16.01 in interest, right? Where did I get that? I took $491.01, subtract $475. It costs $16 in interest. Instead of $100 for a payday loan. So option 2 in this case is better by a lot. Let's check. Yeah, it was $11. Their book's wrong here. You have to keep in mind you paid $5. So book's kind of wrong in this case. So question B here, however, what annual interest rate would equate to the fee charged by the payday loan company? So what does that mean? So question 2, what annual interest rate would equate to the fee charged by the payday loan company? What this is asking you here is what would the interest rate be to turn $475 into $575 in 2 months? That's what it's asking you. If that was just a traditional loan, you took a traditional loan on $475 for 2 months, what would the interest rate be? Would it be 100%? Would it be 200%? Would it be 300%? What is the interest rate? That's what it's asking in plain English here, right? So what am I trying to find in this case? Am I trying to find A? Am I trying to find P? Am I trying to find I? Am I trying to find N? Am I trying to find T? What am I trying to find? I'm trying to find I in this case. I'm trying to find I. So I go to my don't need any of this stuff. Okay, whatever. Oh. Oh, I don't have a compound interest formula for interest. Not on my formula sheet, which is why, if you guys remember, way back when I had you guys do this thing, right? How'd you put this in here? So you should go to your formula sheet and write that in, right? I is equal to it's A divided by P. I'm gonna have to like do a little bit of MacGyver in here. Minus 1. Now this is all under a square. This is under a square root. The minus 1 is not, and this is to the power of to the square root of n. So make sure you guys write that into your stuff here. So I need to use this formula. If you can even look in your textbook, they did the same thing, right? But they did algebra to solve for I instead, which you can do if you know algebra. By all means, go for it. But this sucks to rearrange. This sucks to do so otherwise, which is why I just gave you guys this. So, right, good old substitution. So I is equal to, what's my A? Well, what numbers am I using? There's a lot of numbers up here. Remember, I'm looking at this 575 to this thing. A is my investment, so it's 575 divided by my principal, which was 475. It's all minus 1. Sorry, I'm just making this as neat as I can here. There we go. And then this is to the power of n. To the power of n. Now you might be thinking, well, what do I put here? I don't know. Do I put 2 here or do I put 2 over 12 here? Well, let's find out. We know what the answer is going to be. Oh, shoot. So at this point, I want to problem solve for you because sometimes you're going to get it wrong. You're going to have to use logic here. So we're going to do that live. I'm not going to give you the answer here. I want you to think that before I do this, is n supposed to be 2? Is n supposed to be 12? Is n supposed to be 365 divided by 60? Is n supposed to be 365 divided by 12? What is it supposed to be? I want you to think about that first. So we're gonna go and pretend that we're gonna start with 2, right? Sometimes you gotta mess around with some stuff here, right? So I is equal to, so how do I do this? How do I do this square root thingy? A lot of you were struggling with this. For example, the last one, we had to do the 18th root. A lot of you did 18 times the square root of blah, 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 blah. No, it's the 18th root. So you have a symbol that looks like this, right? So 18, then use this little red thing where my mouse is. Use that. So now it's being the square roots of 18. But in this case, I'm doing the square root of 2. 2. Up, up. So this is 575 subtract 475. So I divided by it, minus 1. So for this one, it's saying that, hey, your interest rate, remember, it's not 0.1%. You got to move the decimal place. It's a 10% interest rate. Maybe. I don't think that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. So maybe it's not that. Maybe we'll try 12 instead. And 12% do 1.6%. Huh? What? So is it 1.6%? I can just tell you right now, it's not that. So maybe it's got to be one of these fraction, one of these small numbers. So maybe we'll try 365 divided by 60. 1, 2, 3.19%? Maybe? What if it's this divided by 12 instead? Oops. Oh, so what is this possibly going to be? So remember, it's one of these and it isn't one of these. Remember, it's a little always an n times a t. Times a t that goes there, right? So n is the number of payments, t would be the amount in the years, is really what this kind of boils down to here. So in this case, though, it's actually going to end up being 2. So instead of an n here, there is a little tiny 2 here, which we know gave us this 10%. We might be asking, well, you just said it wasn't 10%, because it's not. In this case, it's being 10% per month. What the question's asking us, what's the annual interest rate? Well, there's 12 months in a year equal to 120%, right? You take this 10% times it by the 12 months. So it's 120% is the actual thing. Now, if I'm ever unsure, though, what can I do? Well, I can just use my traditional formula, right? If I'm going to do a check, I know. So this should equal out. If I do this correct, this should equal out. What is this? So the interest was, what was it? It was I said it was 120%. So that'd be 0.12 to the power of n. Wouldn't be 2 though. Remember, it's compounding daily for 60 days. And it's compounding 365 times a year. So if I do this, 475 times 1 plus 1.2, which is 120% interest rate, over 365 to the power. Oh, crap. Backspace. Arrow, bracket. There we go. To the power of 60. This should end up about 575. Close enough. Why am I saying close enough? Don't you want it to be exact? Well, I rounded this 10% figure. If you remember, this was like a 10 point something. So that would have mattered on when you're compounded at 365 times. So yes. So this checks out. So it is 120% interest rate here. So I know that one's kind of confusing. So I'm going to really try not to pick up questions that have that. With that said, though, we're going to go to one more. Right, this is the last one I think that we're doing. Uh, um, oh, think about it. Example 4 on page 109, 110, sorry. Solving a debt consolidation problem that involves an interest amount. We're going to do this one here. Make sure you guys copy this in. Once you guys copy this in, unpause. So 3, 2, 1, unpause. So in this instance, so really pay attention to the example here. This is the word, we see the word consolidate. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Consolidation of debt. Very common thing people have. When you have too much debt, sometimes you consolidate it. It's a smart financial move to do so. So we have Nikki who wants to be debt free in 5 years. She has 2 credit cards in which she makes monthly payments. Card A has a balance of $2,436 and 98, sorry, $22,436.98, and an interest rate of 18.5%, which is compounded, and it's compounded daily. Card B has a balance of just over $3,000, interest rate of 19%, and that's also compounded daily. So she currently has 2 cards in which she has a pretty large amount of credit card debt. She's not in a good situation. And as you can see, well, it's only $5,500, taking her 5 years to pay it off, right? So you can screw yourself really easily. What is that? Well, that looks like that's a new computer and a car repair. That's what that is. 5 years to pay that off. So Nikki is qualified for a line of credit at her bank with an interest rate of 9.6%, which is compounded monthly, and a credit limit of $6,000. She wants to pay off both credit card balances, which she can, by borrowing the money from the line of credit. So what she would be doing is she would be transferring this amount. So this is about $5,500. She's going to take that and put it into this loan here, which has a lower interest rate and a more infrequent compounding rate, right? So what she's doing is she's taking off these higher interest loans. They accrue interest. They make her lose money quicker, and she's going to put that into something that slows that process down. So it's a smart financial move to do that, right? I have multiple high interest loans. I'm going to move that debt into a lower interest loan. So what do we have to do? How would I solve this? Well, I would find the cost to pay. It asks us to how much interest will she save? So how would I find out how much interest she'd save by doing this smart financial plan? Well, I would need to find the cost to pay off card A and card B using monthly payments. So what happens if she instead just did this 5 years? I'm going to do my monthly payments to pay it all off. What if she did that? So I'm going to find that cost, and then I'm going to find the cost if I used the line of credit and I compare the two, right? So it's a 3-step process here is really what we're doing. So let's start here with card A. Come on. So with card A. Now what am I missing here? So hold on, let me cat. Buddy. Might be in here. There we go. Okay. So what are we missing right now? If I go to my apps, Finance, TMV Solver. Do I know what the N is? Yes, I know that's 60 months, right? 5 years, 12 months a year, 60. Do I know what the interest rate is? Yes, I do, 18.5%. Do I know what the present value is? Yes, it's negative $2,436.98. Do I know what the payments are? No, I know I'm making monthly payments. So I know the future value has to be 0. I know the payments I'm making a year are 12, and I know it's compounded 365 times a year. So I'm trying to solve for the payments. So she's paying $62.73 a month every month for 5 years. So here's card A, right? So what does that equal out to? Well, if that is $62.73 per month times 60 months, it is $3,760.80. I'm going to underline that. That's important. Card B, right? Things are pretty similar, but the difference is there's an interest rate now of 19%. My value is 3043.26. That's my present value. Sorry, negative. Negative 3043.26. There we go. I don't know what my payments are going to be yet. That's what I'm trying to find out. My future value wants to be 0, so same thing. I've set this up now to solve. My minimum payment here would be $79.19. Right? So card B, right? So it's $79.19 times 60 months equals $4,751.40. So check. I found out how much it costs. So I'm going to combine these two of these, right? So overall, so what's my total present value? My principal? It's this 2436 plus this 3000, right? It's adding up that debt. So let's do that. It's 3043.26 plus 3763.80. Huh? Oh, I see my mistake. Whoops. 3043.26. I accidentally did a 3 here instead of a 2436.98. So overall, it's a combined $5,480.24, right? In debt with interest. Well, again, it's that $4,751.40 over 5 years. That $3,000 turns into $4,700. So it's almost doubled in that instance, right? So again, you don't want long-term credit card debt. If you can't pay it off in a month or two, if you can't pay it off in like a couple months, you might need to look into finding a way to consolidate that debt, just as she's doing. As you can see, you can probably imagine she's going to save a couple $1,000s by doing this. So now I add up to this $3,763.80. With interest, this is $8,515.20. So total interest is, wow, $3,034.96. So she paid $3,000 in interest here, right? So doing just the credit cards. So what happens now if I were to instead use this line of credit? So I'm adding both these up, which you've established is this figure here, $5,480. And it's at a 9.6 compounded monthly. So let's try that. So let's try figuring that one out here, right? So she's going to do this again for 5 years. Her interest rate in this case, though, is 9.6%. Now, her present value is negative, remember, $5,480. I'm adding both those credit card debts up. 0.24. Now, her payments are, we don't know. That's what we're trying to find out, right? So I'm going to put 0 there for now. Future value, she wants it to be 0. Now, payments a year, she's doing 12, but compounded periods a year is only 12 because it's compounded monthly. Oh. So if I do that, now I can just solve for the payments. And now here's my line of credit, right? So it's $115.36 times 60 months. At surface value, this looks more expensive, but it's not. So in total, she's paying $6,921.60. Now, with interest, right? Let's take away how much her principal was, right? Which is that $5,480.24. Oh, shoot, I times that there. So we're going to take her $6,921.60. We're going to subtract the total, the principal, so $5,480.24. And in total, she's paying $1,141.36 in interest. So which of these two is better, right? This is how much she's paying if she does the credit cards. This is how much she's paying if she consolidates. Obviously, the line of credit is better because she only pays $1,441.36 in interest as opposed to $3,334.96. It is twice as affordable, right? She's paying $1,400 versus $3,000. She's saving half the cost in interest. Now do I want to do question example 5? I want to do that one. Mm, 6. No, I think you guys are good for this. I'm pretty sure you guys are good for this. Yeah, you guys are good. Okay. So I'll let you guys finish up everything here with Unit 2.